title of our webinar today is 5 Tips to Maximize CourthouseDirect.com Special Searches. And of course, we use this search engine every day for the work that we do, and maybe there's some things that we found that are helpful to us that certainly we want to share with you. And so the first thing, and I'm going to go through a quick PowerPoint and then we'll jump in and actually do some of this, some of these searches, but we want to kind of distinguish, if we can, the difference between the searchable indexes and the historical file viewer. So the searchable indexes are, as you see on the screen there, the grantor-grantee indexes, the filtered searches, which are involuntary lien searches and releases, and then we have another portion of our website, which is the historical records, which sometimes will have the same information in it. It's just the way it's presented is a little bit differently depending on the county. And then another tip that we're going to talk about is utilizing different wildcards and utilizing the plus sign, which you can use as an and feature on the site. And also, what we think is very powerful on Courthouse Direct is the ability to do a sub-search. So I've got some examples kind of on the screen that I'll be showing you, but essentially, if you use the sub-search, it allows you to narrow down, maybe when you get a large set of results, to narrow it down to a smaller set of results. And then also, too, we have built these filtered searches on the website so that if you know that what you're looking for is strictly easements, or you're looking for releases, or you're strictly looking for deeds, then you may not need to look through all the results. You can narrow it down just to those particular filtered searches. And then the last tip is the one that I probably am most excited about, and that is the ability on our website to be able to do a search by address using a GIS map. So for instance, we can drill down to a piece of property, and once we're drilled down to the property, we can look at the legal description, and we can look at a street map view, and there's some other things that we can do there. So so again, we'll just go ahead and get started and start showing you what we have here. So so I'm on CourthouseDirect.com. I am logged in, to the website, and I'm going to show you some other tips. But one thing that you want to make sure you know about is the My Account button. If, for instance, I had downloaded some documents last week and I forgot where I saved them, I can look at my account activity by clicking on the account activity. It's actually defaulting to today's date, and then I can click submit, and it'll show all the documents that I've been downloading today. So again, if I saved a document but I'm not sure where I saved it, then I can go in here and just simply click on the document and then open that document and be able to read it and save it wherever I want to save it. So sometimes people aren't aware that they can do that. Also, too, if you want to update your credit card, you can do that under the My Account button. Of course, our website is all set up at an organizational level. So if you have people that are on your staff that you've recently hired, you may want to assign them their own username and password. So if I'm the organization, or I'm the organizer or the administrator, then I can administer my users here, and then you just put in their name, put in their username and password, either one that you assign to them or one that they choose. And then if they leave the employ of your company, then you can remove them at your leisure. And so I'm going to go back to the home button here. And again, I wanted to talk about the difference, if you will, between the searchable indexes and the historical file viewer. So for instance, if I held my mouse over the real property documents or the grantor-grantee indexes, then you can see that we can pull what we call the current documents here, but we can also pull historical documents. If I click on current documents, it's going to take me to a page where I can go straight in and put in the state and county that I need to pull the document. If I'm looking for an older document, then I click on historical documents, and it brings me to this area of the website where I can go into the historical area of the site. So, so again, sometimes what you'll find out is that the current documents and the historical documents both exist in the database. Sometimes you know the document that you want to pull and you can go straight to it. But I know in our business, sometimes if you see a deed and you're thinking, well, you know, there may be a corresponding deed of trust way back in the 1950s or 60s, then you can jump back into the historical documents and look for any older documents that might be there. So, so just keep in mind that when we say current documents, then we're saying that you go in, you pick the state and county. I'm just going to pick Texas and Harris County just because it's easy for me. And if I know the file number of the document that I want to download, then I can go straight to the document just by putting in the file number of the document I want to download. I can charge it to a particular job number or client matter number and just click Buy Document. Very quickly it comes up and says View Image. I click on View Image and I've got the document on the screen. The same way, if I want to look at the historical documents, then I can just click on the historical record, click View Now, and now I'm going to be in the historical area of the website. I will tell you that most of what we're going to talk about today is Texas, because we have so much data in Texas, and I know we have people that are on the phone with us today that are outside of Texas. But we also have a fair amount of data in New Mexico that's available now through our site, and we're going to probably our next state we're moving into is Colorado. But for instance, if I go in here and I'm looking for data that's in Harris County, you can see all the different types of records that we have within the Harris County folders. So again, if I were looking for an older deed in Harris County, I could just, this is like pulling a book off the shelf. I just drill down to the deeds, you know, go to the volume and page number of the document that I'm looking for, and you notice that these are multi-page documents. You see how the numbers are kind of jumping from page 1, page 4 to page 7. Essentially, that tells you that there's more than one page. And if you look kind of at this top left-hand corner, this essentially tells me that this is a 2-page document. So I can just flip to the next page, and then I'm at the end of the document. And of course, the way we know that you know, we're at the end of a document is because you have a file stamp there that says that this is when the document was filed or recorded. And so, and then of course other folders that we have in here are subdivision plat folders. Again, if I knew the volume and page recording of the plat, then I can simply go in here and go straight to whatever map it is I'm looking for. And then once I get to the map, then I can just flip through the pages of the map and download whatever parts of the map it is that I might want to download. So let me close that out. And then for our title insurance customers, we also have back plants in a lot of counties. So people that are doing older searches in counties, they can come in and they can go into this area that we call our back plant, where we can drill down to whatever records might be in those older records in the county. So for instance, I'm just bringing up a particular subdivision. I can see that this particular subdivision looked like it was recorded in 1953. So in Harris County, for instance, our records go on our electronic current records, they go back to 1961. So if I were looking for data that went prior to 61, then I'd want to be able to go into the back plant. Now, not everyone has access to the back plant, but if you subscribe to our geo index for Harris County, then you have ability to view the back plant. If you're not subscribed, you would not see these plant folders listed here. You would see all the other folders, but you would not see the title plant folders. And again, what we've done, I think, a pretty good job on, and is particularly for our oil and gas landman, is we've gone in and we've scanned the handwritten grantor-grantee indexes. So if I were to go into Chambers County and then look under grantor-grantee, then I can look in the reverse index. A lot of books in Chambers County, but if I go into this reverse index, then we've got everything broken down, again, just like if I were opening a book on the screen. So if I were looking for a name that had MAM in it, I would go down to page 9. On this list here, I can jump down to page 9, and then I can just start, you know, flipping through the pages here on page 9. So again, don't want to spend any more time on that, but I just wanted to, again, differentiate what we're doing in terms of our current records to our historical records. So the next thing I want to look at is our wildcards and using the plus sign. So I'm just going to go back to the home page, and I'm just going to go to Texas, and then I'm going to go down to Hays County, or up to Hays County, and I can just jump in and use the grantor grantee index. Well, if I had a subdivision I was looking for, or a survey that I was looking for, and I knew that the name was Armand, then I can go in here and put in a percentage, ARMAND, and say, look for everything that has the word Armand in it. So it's going through the database, and and you'll see the results when they come back here. But let's say it was the so-and-so Armand survey. Well, if I did not put in a percentage sign, it would only look for whatever I put in there. So so again, let's watch our results come up here in just a second. So if we look at this, we'll see that you'll see the name Armando. So it's picking up Armando within the name, which is actually pretty interesting that it would pick up that. And then even though it's Armando Martinez, it's picking up anything that has that percentage sign when I did that search. Now, if I were to take this same search and I'm going to copy that and then drop that into the legal description search and say, go find that anything that has Armand in the legal description search, it's going to look through that column of data and look for any data that might be there. So again, that percentage sign, depending on which field you're searching, will help you be able to find whatever it is you're looking for. So this is really a good example where you see this is the Armand Welsh survey. So you'll see sometimes it's called Armand Welsh, and then other times it might be just like this example down here. You see Armand Welsh number 168, but up above it's Welsh Armand. So again, that wildcard will allow you to search anywhere in that particular record, depending on what you chose. In this case, I chose the subdivision or survey column to be able to look for Armand. And so I'm going to click on New Search here. I'm going to stay in Hays County. And we do have acreage amounts in Hays County. And so, for instance, if I go under the sub-search, you just put in 100 and then put a dot right there. So I'm going to search everything in Hays County that's a 100-acre tract. The only reason that you would have a dot there is because it's dot some amount of acreage. So you can see it's picking up a 100.2 acre tract, 100.03, 100.46. So we don't have acreage amounts in all of our counties, but where we do have acreage amounts, it's pretty easy to be able to just put in an acreage amount. You know that they sold the property or have been selling the property, with this acreage amount, and then you can just go right to it. Well, if I hit the back button one time and then put in a plus sign, because I know this was some property in the Lower Colorado River Authority, then I can just say, okay, I want to match everything that's 100-acre point whatever, plus anything that has Lower Colorado River Authority, and I don't have to spell out Colorado River, but I can just do the same search from there, and you can see how the matches take place here. So it's matching a 10.58 acre tract, a 10.03 acre tract, and a 100-acre tract, all against the Lower Colorado River Authority. So again, that sub-search is just such a very powerful search. The next search I want to do is I'm going to jump over to Dallas County. And in this case, I'm going to put in a party name, and I want to look for Mr. Morgan, and I'm looking for Robert Morgan, and I'm looking for everything that Robert Morgan had out of the, I think it's a Hayside survey or subdivision. So again, this allows me, instead of, let me just run Robert Morgan without that. So I'm just going to look for everything with Robert Morgan, in Dallas County. And of course, that's going to be should be a large data set because that's a fairly common name. So it says that it found 767 records. Well, that's fine. I could go through all of these 767 records and look through the 8 pages, or if I know that he owned property out of a particular subdivision, then I can match Mr. Robert Morgan and HAY, and in this case it's a Haymaker subdivision. So again, this ability to be able to narrow that down is very helpful. Or if, let's say, for instance, I knew that he owned property out of the Northgate subdivision, then again, I'm not spelling out Northgate. I'm just saying match anything with Robert Morgan and North G, and then it's going to find anything that matches those results. Now, it still came back with 18 results, but 18 is better than the 560 records or whatever it was that we looked at just with the name. So again, this can save you a lot of time to be able to narrow it down and get to whatever it is you're looking for. I want to show you a couple of other kind of quick searches here. I'm going to say new search, and in this case, I'm going to jump back to Harris County. And in Harris County, not Harrison, but Harris, I might want to be searching, let's say, under the party name City of Baytown. And I know that City of Baytown granted an easement to Houston Lighting and Power Company back in the 60s or something. So both City of Baytown and Houston Lighting and Power Company, if I were to run those independently, that would bring back a ton of results, So instead of doing that, I'm just going to say, go search anything where those two match across. Well, then I've narrowed it down to only 13 results. And I know if the property I'm looking for is one of these, or it's out of this survey or abstract, then I know that yeah, that's the property I want, and then I would pull that particular property. So again, the ability to reduce the amount of time you're at when you're using this filter, sub search is very powerful. Another sub search, again, similar to what we did in Hays County, is if I was looking for a 3.256 acre tract. Again, you see how quickly it's going through finding anything that's 3.256 acre tract. Because we're in Harris County, which is a very large county, I could put almost any acreage amount and it's going to find something. And then from there, I could say, well, what I was really looking for, is something that's out of, let's say, Homecraft, the name Homecraft, and I could just put in a plus sign and say, go match anything with home in it that also is the 3.256, and you see how it matches those across there. So again, another really kind of cool tool is sometimes you're reading, you're reading a clerk file number, and you're going, you know what, this is I can't read that last number that on the record there. So for instance, if I go in, we do have the ability to put in a doc ID number. I'm going to take off the last digit of the doc ID number. And so go find everything that starts with that G number. Actually, it works better, I think, with our sub search. Go find everything with that number that starts with those letters and see if I get a list of those. So essentially what we're looking at is everything that had G06968, and then it's bringing back all of those different results. I could even say, well, I can't read the last two numbers on this document. So I could, if I wanted to, just put in those numbers, and you'll see it's going to bring up everything with those numbers in it. So again, sometimes we know that we're trying to read something, for whatever reason, a number got kind of blurred out. You do have the power to be able to go back in, and you notice that I'm doing these searches using just the sub search column. When I tried to do that by putting the number in for under the doc ID, the doc ID is going to be specific. You'd have to be looking for that specific document to be able to pull that back on the doc ID. So that's using the sub search, and so now let's look at our filtered searches. So I'm going to say,
hey, Paul.
Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
We had a question come in about the sub search specifically, so I just thought we could address that.
Sure.
How do you use the sub search in the advanced plan? It does not appear on all the search options.
Okay. I'm gonna hold that question till later, and but just remind me of it, all right? Because otherwise I'll need to go into the title plant. And I know that there are people on the phone here that don't use really the title plants. They're using the grantor grantee. So we're going to focus on the grantor grantee, and then we'll jump over to the title plants and show them how they can use that sub-search capability over there.
Sounds great. Thank you.
So let's look at our filtered searches. So in most all the counties, we do have the ability to narrow our searches down to what we call these filtered searches. And so, for instance, you notice there's a drop-down menu here where you could choose these particular searches that are at the top, or you can just click on the search itself, and it'll bring you to that particular search, and you can choose whatever county it is that you want to do. So in this case, what I'm looking for is a party by the name of Raymond Hill, and you can see before I actually click on the search button that this will bring up any internal revenue liens, abstracts of judgment, state tax liens, and so on. And so I'm going to look for everything with Raymond Hill. So, it's going, again, this is our filtered searches. So what we've done is we've gone through and we said, okay, let's pull out anything that looks like it may be an involuntary lien or what we also call an adverse lien. And let's make it so that the user doesn't have to look at the maybe 1,000 records with Raymond Hill, because they know specifically what they're looking for are any involuntary liens. And so you can look at kind of the list of different doc types here, and you can see abstracts of judgments, and you can see tax liens, and every once in a while, like this contract, the reason we have that in there is because sometimes there's a mechanics lien contract, and a mechanics lien contract sometimes can be an involuntary lien, and sometimes it can be just a voluntary lien. But you can kind of make a distinction there whether it's an involuntary lien, by looking at the parties to the transaction a lot of times. So again, the filtered search is something that allows you to narrow it down to whatever it is that you're looking for. The same way that we're searching for this search, we might want to also look for. I'm going to go back into Harris County. I might only be looking for the deeds to this party. So again, the same name I'm going to run is just Raymond, and go look only for the deeds. So when I'm looking for the deeds, if it's a warranty deed or special warranty deed or sheriff's deed or whatever it might be, then what we've done is built a filter to be able to filter all those out. If for whatever reason you're using our site and you use the filter and you're noticing something that didn't come up, then certainly let us know, and we'll make sure that we're filtering that data out. And then the same way we build filters for oil and gas leases. So for instance, if I go down, we also call it a lease check. So if you notice down at the bottom left-hand corner, I can go here under lease check. I'm going to choose another county. I'm going to choose Anderson County. And I can search either by a survey name or search by a party name. So I'm just going to put in Jones just to see if we can pull back some results here. And so when I'm searching Jones, it's looking for any oil and gas related documents. So it's not just strictly oil and gas leases. In this case, we might see a mineral deed, or we might see a royalty deed or a pooling agreement or whatever it might be. And for instance, if I look at this particular county, I can see activity in these different surveys. So if I was looking for property that's in this McNeely survey, then I'm going to just copy McNeely. I'm going to hit my back button one time. I'm going to drop in McNeely here and remove Jones and say, go find everything that is any kind of a oil and gas related document that is in McNeely survey. So you can see here, it actually has 7 pages of records in McNeely survey, and they'll show abstract 44 in some of them, and some of them maybe they wouldn't have that abstract number. But once you kind of learn how the data is kind of broken up in the county, just like I put in McNeely, and I came up with 669 results. Let's say if I take out McNeely and just put in this A44, and see what comes up there, then it might probably bring up a different set of results. But again, it actually brings up some more results. So again, and the reason it's bringing up more results is it's finding something in abstract 447, which is the Jones survey. So again, I could, if I wanted to, use that same concept where I put in, say, everything with Jones, that's a A44, match those things together. It's looking through the whole database, or at least that portion of the database, and look for anything that matches the A44 and then Jones. So again, we call this our lease check product, because typical lease check is where you're going to go into a county and you're going to build a chain, or you're going to go to the tax office, find out who the taxpayer is, and then you're going to build a chain of title. And in your chain of title, you're going to look for any mineral reservations, you're going to look for any mineral deeds, you're going to look for anything that breaks the title out, and that's how you're going to be able to do your lease check. What this is kind of a snapshot, if you will, of any oil and gas activity that's been indexed to that particular survey or that particular name in the county. So again, if you have a common name, you're not having to look through everything. You can just look to whatever it is that, again, what you're looking for. So now I'm going to click again back on the home button, and this feature that I'm going to show you now is really the search by address function. And we did a webinar on this when we first rolled this out, I guess 2 or 3 months ago. But what kind of motivated us to build this mechanism was that if you're on Zillow.com and you were looking for, let's say, 101 Main Street, in Houston, Texas, then it typically is going to drill you down to some property that's in that area, perhaps. And so we kept looking at that and saying, how can we kind of do the same thing but really draw people into the title information business, or title information. And so you notice that there's 3 ways that you can search up here. One is by the address of the property, another is by the owner's name, another is by the tax ID number, or what we call an advanced search, where you can put in multiple items. But let's say, for instance, I was looking for 806 Main Street. And you notice that I'm not choosing a county, but I'm in Texas, so I'm just defaulting to Texas. And I'm going to say, go find all the 806 Main Streets. Well, it brought back several results here. In fact, it brought back at least 8 pages of results. And we've got about 8 records to a page. And so on here, I'd say, well, the 806 Main Street that I'm looking for is this property right here. So I can click really anywhere on that orange line, and it'll open up that property. So again, kind of similar to Zillow, is that we're drilling now down to that specific property. And as we're doing that, you can see down below where we're asking this question, and that is this the property you're searching for? Well, if you say no, then you go back and do another search. If you say yes, then essentially you can, before I click on yes, you can see everything's kind of grayed out right now. And so once I choose yes, then we turn the lights on. And so you can see all of the things that you can do now, now that we've turned the lights on. And so, for instance, what I can do is I could order title insurance through our Integrity Title platform. I could order a limited title certificate. I could order a deed and run sheet, or if I need a manual retrieval, I can get that done. We also have kind of a unique product we call a Landman Starter. But something, we were at the Surveyors Convention, and a surveyor said, hey, I like what you're doing, but can you add a latitude and longitude to your product? And so that's what we did. So here's the latitude and longitude. And in fact, we added a ability to do a street view. So I'm going to click on the little yellow man there, and now it's going to drop me right in front of that property. Well, this property happens to be a hotel, so you can kind of see the person working at the hotel there. But the ability to be able to go from the address to the tax information and then straight over to a GIS map is helpful. And now I'm clicking on just the Google map, so it's drilling me down to the Google map. And from there, I can use Google Earth or whatever it is whatever else is that I want to do. And really, the kind of the beauty of this too is that, you know, as a researcher, sometimes you're being told that you're looking at an order that came through the door, and they're telling you, well, this is a $500,000 property or $1 million property. Well, if you look at the physical location of the property and you see a trailer house there, you might kind of scratch your head and go, well, is this really the property I should be working on, or did they transpose the address? Or, for instance, if there's a ditch behind the property that may not show up on your map, you might want to look at that. Or if there's overhead power lines, you might want to look for overhead power lines, which means you need to be researching for easements. So the ability, again, to be able to jump from this title information into the GIS map is just really pretty handy. And then the other things that we offer to our consumers or whoever visits our site is the ability to do these other filtered searches. Well, we know that we're in Harris County. We know that what we're looking for is a release. So I could just click on the release button and then be able to very quickly do a release looking for probably the name that I'm searching here under the tax rolls. So again, if I were searching this, I could just copy this before I click on the release button, and then actually go to releases, paste it in, and boom, I'm ready to look for any releases that might be there. We also have another product which is really nationwide, and that is what we call property profiles, property histories, and sales comparables. So if I click on this property profile, this is mainly tax information on the property, but the good thing about this is that a lot of times it will give you a vesting deed for the property if I look down at the bottom left-hand corner. So I know in many cases you're just trying to get started to get your job work, to get it going, and you're kind of struggling a little bit to find that first deed to be able to start building your chain of title. Sometimes just by going in here, looking at the vesting deed and saying, yes, that's my property, then that'll kind of keep you moving instead of getting bogged down. And then the other tool that we have here is this property history. Again, I'm clicking on the samples of these, and this is deed and mortgage information. It would not include any involuntary liens, but it does give you the file number where these documents are filed. Again, it's not something you would necessarily bet the ranch on, but again, if it gives you good information to be able to start your search with the file numbers of the deeds and the dates of the mortgages, then certainly that's a good resource. And then also too, for some folks, they're interested in these sales comparables. So if you're looking at a property that's near you and you say, okay, I need to look at the values on these properties, then you can pull that information up too. So that can be helpful. And then the last thing I want to show you on here is giving the consumer, whether the consumer is a realtor or a mortgage company or an attorney or an individual, the ability to order title insurance through this mechanism. So I've already chosen, it knows that I'm in Harris County, so it defaults and puts that name in there. It knows that I'm going to tell it that I'm the seller. I could click the realtor or whatever it might be. I can also say this is a sale, and in this particular case, it's a commercial transaction. So if I click continue, then what it's going to do, it's going to find the closing offices that are near me, and also any closing offices where they do specifically any commercial transactions. Now, you're not seeing a big list here because this is a pretty new web interface, if you will. Integrity Title Company, which is our title agency, runs this portion of the website. So again, as we move along here, we'll have more closing locations, and if I clicked on residential, you would see a lot of different closing locations. But since this is commercial, we're very selective about the people we put on there to do the commercial closing. So if, for instance, I was going to order my title work from this particular company, I'm logged in, so it knows the information about me, and then from there, I can click continue, and you can see how it pulls that title information or tax information into the report, and it also, we bring over the latitude and longitude. So whoever ultimately receives the order, they'll be able to click on the latitude and longitude and be able to look at where the property is and confirm, yes, that's my property and that's where I should be. I've also told the system that I'm the seller, so it's populating all that information. And then I click continue, and if there's buyer information that I want to add, we can do that, or we can add loan information. And so then I'm ready to actually place the order. Now, again, keep in mind this is for title insurance purposes, and so what we're telling the consumer is include a copy of your earnest money contract. Also, if you want fast turnaround, if you include a copy of your prior policy or your prior survey, then that might help get the order out a little bit quicker. And to be able to add something to this, you can just click on add, and then you can add whatever records. Also, the consumer can tell us how quickly they want the file to close. Now, I'm just going to type in the word test here so no one actually works the order. But when I click this submit order form, what's happening there is one order is going, or one email is going to the closer, who is going to be actually closing the transaction. Another email goes to the escrow, or excuse me, to the consumer, who is told this is your escrow officer that you've chosen. And then another email goes to our order desk, and we do the title examination work, and we send that over to the closer who's going to close the transaction. So it's just a way for consumers to more easily be able to order their title work and choose the closing office that they want to close with, instead of just going to a company website and having to fill out a form. So, but I'm going to go back to Jennifer's question about search using the sub-search within the title plant. And of course, we have some of our users are title insurance companies, and they use the Integrity Title Records title plant. And then other people that access our title plants for non-insurance purposes go through the geo-index title plant. And I think the question here was directed toward title insurance, so I'm going to go into the title insurance title plant. So let me go ahead and log in here. And the question also is about our advanced plant. So the list of title plants here in this page is really what we call our legacy title plants. But we've created another title plant where we've added some additional features here, which would include the ability to save searches and perform multiple searches. Also, our users are able to monitor a search, so they can say, I want to track these results over the next 6 weeks or 10 weeks, and if there's something filed against the search that you did previously, you'd be notified of that. There's also some other function here like auto naming, and we think the results come back a bit faster. But let me just go back, go into Harris County again, and I'm just going to put in just kind of an arbitrary number here, and then click on the submit button, so just so I can get into the site. So the question was, where would I be able to do the sub-search? Now, we do have a grantor-grantee index here, and it does have that sub-search capability. So if I were looking for, let me do the search that I did before. So if I were looking for City of Baytown, and I was looking for Houston Lighting and Power Company, then I would just search that, and then again, it's going to go through the database and find those matches between those particular records. And then there's another way to do this I'm going to show you in just a second, but let's see if we can get our results back here. When it takes that long, then that tells me that maybe I did something wrong here. So let me go back in. That's what it, City of Baytown. I'm going to click on the general search here. Again, I'm not very patient, so I'm going to look for any matches between the City of Baytown and Houston Lighting and Power, and I'm going to search that. This is strange. It's usually when you're going to have a problem when you're demonstrating it, but usually it's going to come right back up. So let me just look at City of Baytown. I'm going to just go ahead and log off, come back in. So let me just pick another county. Let's go to Comal County. I'm going to search without a GF number. I'm going to go to the grantor grantee. I'm going to put in a party name here. And as you notice, there is not a sub-search here, but that's okay. I'm going to just show you kind of how 319 records. So you can use the same functionality as a sub-search by clicking on the general search. So I see that there's a Jones who did business or has property in, let's say, the Villages or Oakview. So for instance, I can click on it's P. Jones, so Jones P. So Jones P plus Oak. I can match those under the general search, and you can see that it matches those together. So it's the same functionality as a sub-search under the grantor grantee. I'm just using the general search to be able to perform that search. And if I knew, in this case, I was looking for Jones P that had something in lot number 39, you know, that's block number 1 or something, I could, search that too. So if I put in Jones with the number 39, you can see it's matching anywhere where it's finding 39. So again, you can, in this particular case, we didn't have a sub-search here, and probably the reason why is because we're so used to just using the general search to be able to do that sub-search. So Jennifer, do we have some more questions?
Yes, we have a couple questions. I've addressed some of these directly to you that have submitted them, but some of them are great for the group to hear as well. So one of the first ones is, does the wildcard or the percentage sign work for all counties?
It should work for all counties, yes.
Okay, you addressed the sub-search question. Another question was the training videos on how to search for a deed or ownership prior to 1961, like if it's in the 40s. And I recommended a general search, but do you have anything else for that?
Well, I'm glad you kind of brought that up. You know, one thing that we do have on our site that people don't always avail themselves of is these videos that we have. And so we have this channel which is called Courthouse Academy Channel, and if I were looking for older records, you know, then I could go into this historical, I'm just clicking on the video for the historical records here. So this is you can see it's a 6-minute, 17-second video, and it kind of walks you through a lot of the things that I just showed you. I can see that this was our old kind of look and feel of the website, so it's not as current. But as far as the ability to use that older record portion of the website, you know, that you can just follow that video and be able to do that. I hope I'm answering the question there, Jennifer. Were they wanting to know about how to search another way in the historical record?
Specifically for the more any training videos prior to that, but we're going to have Zach reach out right after for some additional training, so I think that can get addressed. Another one of the questions we had is, when a lease has multiple sections listed, does the index always include the complete sections that apply?
It really depends on the county that we're talking about. There are counties where that you'd say really are not very active oil and gas counties, and so we're not going to put a lot of effort into indexing, lease documents in a county that's not as active. And if it's if you're, inside of our title plants, we have, for instance, we have a Reeves County title plant that we've keyed to sovereignty, and you can see all the different ways to search here. But because we invested so much in building this, we're not actually making it available to the general public. What we're doing is we're providing what we call a landman starter. And Dwight Dunlap is our oil and gas landman expert. And if you gave us your section and block, then we can do essentially a run sheet with all the documents and hand those over to you. So to answer the question, though, it really depends on the county as to whether or not we've fully keyed all the all of the legal descriptions on an oil and gas lease. And some of the data we're getting from the county, and we're just putting it up there as it came from the county, with kind of the added flexibility to be able to search it the way we think it's easier to search. Also, too, if we have a user that is letting us know that something could be keyed better, then we want to address that. And if we need to add additional fields, or we need to add additional legal descriptions to a document, I think the killer is when, and y'all know this probably better than I do, but if, for instance, the county only lists one legal description, but there's 5 legal descriptions, that's a killer. So for our title plants, we try our best to go in and look for any multiple, definitely look for any multiple legals, and then get all those keyed. And then, but if it's data that we're essentially just getting from the county and then hosting that data up on our website, we do our best to go through and look for any anomalies in the data and try to get those corrected. But it really depends on, again, the counties and whether they fall in the category of being a title plant county. So for instance, if I log off of here and I look at our map here, you can see these are counties where we are doing the more in-depth keying in the databases. Reeves County, I think, is still colored in as a coming soon, but that actually should be colored blue now. But where you see these counties that are in the dark blue, generally speaking, those are keyed all the way back, or I should say all the way back. They're keyed, fully keyed by our data entry staff, and then we've got a quality control group that kind of looks all of that too.
Okay. Another question related to this is, when would it be prudent to look at the actual handwritten index as opposed to the online version?
Well, I think it's like any researcher, you kind of have that gut feeling, well, maybe I need to double check something or look at something. But when you go in, if I click on the Texas data coverage sheet, which is all of our data going all the way back, you can see kind of the start dates on these indexes. So here's your searchable grantor grantee indexes and your document images. So let's say, for instance, in a county, we may have indexes that go all the way, in this case, maybe Fayette County. Let's say it goes back to 1989 as a current index, but we have a grantor grantee index that overlaps that, and maybe it goes to 1995. So certainly, if we're saying that it goes back to 89, typically we've done a quality control check on our side to make sure that we have all the indexed information from 89 forward. And then, of course, anything prior to 89, you'd want to look on the handwritten grantor grantee index or typed index, whatever that might be. Our goal really is, even if we have an electronic index in the county, we like to have the handwritten grantor grantee indexes, because you just never know when you're looking at something and your gut just tells you that you just need to look a little bit further, and that ability to be able to provide those handwritten indexes out of our historical document area is, I just think, a useful tool, and you just never know when it's going to save you, a trip to the courthouse.
All of the other questions I've addressed or that will be followed up with after the meeting. If there's any other questions anyone has, now would be the time to submit them so we can get those addressed.
I will mention to everyone that in about 2 weeks we are going to be switching over to another, I would call it more powerful search engine. You know, the search engine that we use, we love it, and it's served us very well for a lot of years. But it was technology that we had built, you know, over 10 years ago, and so we know technology's changed, it's improved. So we've got a couple things that are in front of this, but we think within the next 2 to 3 weeks we're going to be rolling out another search engine, and that search engine will, on Harris County, you have a limitation of 1,500 records. We're going to kick that up to about 5,000 records limitation, and within the title plan, so the geo index, there will not be a limitation. So if there's 8,000 records in there, you'll be able to pull all of those up without having to narrow it down by a date frame like you are required to do right now. And so we're pretty excited about this. It's I think for our users, they're going to see or you know, they're going to feel like, hey, this thing has just been I don't know how to put it, but it's kind of going from a from a, I don't want to say from a regular car to a race car is the way I guess I would say that, you know. So anyway, we're excited about that, and again, that'll probably be rolling out in about 2 weeks from now. Anything else, Jennifer?
The only other question that came up was where will we be able to review this presentation on the website? And we will be sending up a follow-up email after the webinar, and we will also be posting the video by tomorrow on our YouTube station, which is the Courthouse Academy. So if you just go to YouTube and type in Courthouse Academy, we have a whole station on there, and this will be the most recent video posted. It will take a little time for us to get that uploaded today, but check back later today or tomorrow and it should be available. And that's all the questions we had come in today.
Well, that's great. Really appreciate everyone taking their time to join us today, and certainly we're always available to answer your questions, and we really appreciate your feedback, and we'll look forward to visiting with you all soon. Thank you. Have a good day.